Greetings and welcome to Treggyz Travels, Treggyz Trips, something or other. I don't necessarily know what I'm calling this yet, but I wanted to do a kind of travel log esque video about my recent adventure to Pennsylvania. I guess notably Philadelphia, Philly, uh, Plymouth meeting areas in between. And I guess one weird thing about this video for me is that a lot of what might happen in the video is going to be uh, kind of down to what I decide to do in the edit for the video, because I didn't really do, like, I would say, traditional travel log video recordings of myself while I was out there. I did do a little bit of that the first day and kind of Saturday. I was there for 4 days, uh, Thursday through Monday. But I don't really have like this is the thing I did. This is me at the place. I didn't do that. I I essentially just wanted to kind of enjoy the trip, and I kind of just went with the flow with stuff while I was out there. So for the most part, this is just going to be me podcasting for a bit, and then I will just, you know, insert videos or pictures where applicable if I'm talking about something that I have ready to go. And yeah, I guess we'll just see how it goes. Before I start fully with the rest of this video, I'd like to say a special thanks to a couple of friends of mine. First of all, thanks to I'll stick with screen names for the purposes of this video. My friend Martek for inviting me out there to the other side of the country to go attend his wedding. Thanks to Daz for covering my hotel room for the main portion of the weekend. Thanks to my guildmaster Eris for reasons that I will fully divulge later on in the video. Thanks to Nas for my one night, in between, hotel and getting over there. And also, I guess thanks to my parents for helping me cover the cost of the plane ticket out there, because it was definitely a little more than I was expecting when I first booked it. So my folks helped me out with that. So just overall, everybody I went out and hanged out with over the weekend was, everybody. Just thank you all to everyone on that side of the United States for a great weekend. And I guess let's get into it, shall we? The beginning. I will start with my travel log adventures. I'll say Wednesday night in case I want to throw it in. I did do like fears about my flight out there. Not that I'm like afraid of flying. I guess especially after my my two experiences flying. Flying over there and coming back, it was overall pretty good. So, happy with that. I had expressed fear about, like, I don't know, getting scrutinized really heavy by security, but at the same time, I was very careful with my packing. Essentially, everything that I put into my backpack, now empty because I wanted all my stuff back out. Everything that I put in there for the trip, I essentially just Googled and vetted beforehand to make sure that it is at least to a 10-year-old Google article safe to take on board an airplane. I didn't take anything weird or any illicit anything at all. I was a good boy in that regard, but I was still just afraid of, like, somehow, like, something I take is newly updated. You can't bring this for, whatever it is. I was still just like afraid of that. But flying out of Denver International Airport, DIA, whatever you want to call it, was actually ridiculously smooth and like surprising. I had I obviously Ubered over to the airport, and in between the time of me like walking inside DIA to the time of me getting to my gate, waiting for essentially just boarding to happen. Raven, it's not a toy for you, Raven. It was about 10 to 15 minutes at most between entering the building and then just waiting. It was ridiculously smooth outside of me just being a lost idiot, and essentially like I had to ask every single airport attendant or whatever you want to. I'm really sorry if I'm really bad with like job names or something. I don't know who they are necessarily, but they were like people who looked like they knew they were there for a reason. So I like every time I bumped into one, I was like, am I going the right way? And essentially I got through just fine. At Denver International Airport, the only small caveat of like anything bad that happened in between entering and boarding is there's a little train you have to take to get to like your airport gate. And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. It was like I'm like holding on, and it's like this isn't so bad. Why am I holding on? I let go of like the little handrail or whatever, and at that exact moment, I was at like the front of the train. It turned, and I was very much caught unaware because I wasn't looking forward, and I did not fall. I almost fell because I like literally that moment took my hand off, but I just kind of like stumbled forward for a second. It was fine. But yeah, flying out was no problem at all. Actually getting on the plane for the first time ever in my life, that was like one of the small fears is like, is it going to go bad? Is it going to be lots of turbulence or anything? No, it was completely fine, honestly. Like this specific portion of my trip of like the flight would be like, if this is how it goes every single time I'm trying to go to someplace different or new, I would like go again in a heartbeat almost because of how buttery smooth it was, like start to finish. The actual plane ride, I made a small mistake, I think, when I like booked my seat. I would have sworn I had booked a window seat because I wanted to watch the takeoff and stuff, and have the first experience of being in the air, kind of being a spectator to that. And I messed up in that apparently I got a middle row seat instead. So there I was definitely in between two people that the person at the window seat, it was a younger woman. I really hope she didn't think I was creeping out on her the whole time, because I was like, she kept the window open the entire time, and I was essentially watching the outside the entire time. Because again, I just wanted to watch the takeoff, and there were no clouds as we like left, but I wanted to see like cresting over the clouds for the first time, and that didn't happen, or at least not not heading out the first time around. But after that, no problems. It was like a 3.5-4 hour flight over to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and there really wasn't any like bad turbulence or anything that I like, like as we were landing, there was like, it was very loud, I suppose, but no one else on the plane was like freaking out, or no one was like, oh my gosh, it was so happy, like I pretty much like just read the rest of like the plane, and no one else was freaking out about like, it just like a very loud sound of us like landing, and it was like, okay, no one else is freaking out. I have nothing to freak out about, and of course there's no problems getting off. And then I was, obviously at this point I'm now on the other side of the country. I've only ever traveled a few times before, and it was by car, and it was over towards San Diego, California, and Dallas, Texas. If I remember right, and like places in between, because traveling by car. As soon as I like got off the plane, I walked out into like the wave of humidity, which is like an experience I only ever felt before when I went to San Diego for the first time, and that like you just like kind of feel yourself like not actually hitting like a wave of water, but you just feel it just sink into you, or you sink into it, whatever you want to describe it. And it was, oh man, it was bad. But later on in the night, I was told that it like Philadelphia and the area had been experiencing particularly bad humidity that day, so it was just like a little bit of general humidity being bad, and whatever. At that point, I was free to go about wherever I felt like, and because I had nowhere else to go, I went over to Naz's place, and that first night, I essentially had no plans. I didn't really think there was any time to do anything, to be honest. So, Raven's fighting a moth, I think. Something. I didn't think there was any time to do anything. So I honestly had just like expected to just like hang out at Naz's place the entire night, but we essentially within about half an hour of me getting there, we kind of like, actually meeting a friend of yours who like you've known online for a couple of years, actually kind of getting to like meet him face to face, like that's always like a cool moment. Like an overall like an underlying story or like point I want to make throughout this video. Not to throw shade at any friends who couldn't make it, but slightly throwing shade at them. It's always worth it to go, like, if you can, to go out of your way for a little bit of time to go meet up with people that you hang out with on, like, a weekly basis, a daily basis, etc. online. Like, because, like, it's just, like, incredible that, like, you can kind of, like, have a lot of time built up with somebody, but, like, because we're just sitting at our computers at home and just talking to, voices in our headsets, it doesn't really register sometimes that like they're people until you're actually like there face to face with them, and then it's just it's sometimes different, but it's just like incredible at the same time. Kind of throwing me off here, cat. So I get to Naz's place, and then essentially just hanging out for a little bit, kind of like meeting him somewhat for the first time in person, I guess, again. And then he's just like, well, I guess we'll just go out and we'll go do like a bar crawl of like the nearby places I really like. And it's like, okay, I got nothing better to do today. So, I had no plans. Essentially the entire weekend besides the wedding. Right, that's the only thing I had planned the entire weekend is like Saturday. Definitely got to go to a wedding, so I'm happy of course, to go, just waltz around and try out some bars. And we did go to a few places. I can't remember the names of all of them. I do remember, I can't remember the exact name, but it was something along the lines of like Manatee. Manatee. It's like all these places in my, like, for me, like the crazy thing about all, like most of these places is that they were all in like these little, like, almost like to me, like a shoebox like building where it's just like you have about 8 feet of, in between walls, and this is the room of the building. So it's crazy. I went to a few places like that. It was there. Raven, calm down. Manitani, whatever it was called. Human Robot, which was like a more traditional bar to what I was used to, with like kind of like a decent, like it was like a whole corner to itself, like a decently sized space. Another place I can't remember, but it had a really damn good burger. Um, and then I went up to probably one of like the highlights of the trip for like an unplanned just thing to go to. I went to, I believe it was called Bach Bar or Block Bar or something, and it was essentially a repurposed school building or something that the rooftop of it got repurposed into a bar. So we get ID'd at the door, walk in, we go into an elevator, and at this point I don't know what the hell to expect. I'm just like, okay, we're going up, of course. And then I just walk, you just walk out of the elevator and you're just suddenly greeted by the Philadelphia city skyline, and it's just like, holy shit. Like, one of this is definitely like one of those moments where I was like mind blown away by like just like a kind of a random unplanned thing to go do. Like, Nas, if you watch this, you're definitely a really good tour guide. I told you that night when you took me there, but like that was really cool. What do you want, Raven? You're bugging me real bad. That place sadly didn't really have good drinks. It was just like, I think I had 2 canned beers. Not nothing really spectacular, but the you know the sight of just like the city skyline, it was like sunset, slightly after sunset, so there's like kind of still like the nice, like I'll definitely have a picture of this on the screen at this point. Like you can kind of see the entire city, and it was just incredible. It was awesome. Um, like that place was like just cool. That like just super cool to go to something like that. Like I've been to my fair share of bars my whole life. I don't go out that often, but that was definitely like my number one bar I've ever been to, just like for pure scenery alone. Uh, it was really incredible. And then we went to another place I don't remember the name of, but like I had like I don't know, a spiced margarita, I don't know kind of drink it was, but it had like chili, I don't even know, like chili salt on the rim of the glass. It was very spicy. And that essentially was the point of the night where, at that point we just go back. I'm just hanging out with the guys in Naz's living room. I kind of skipped over, I guess. Met up with my buddy Ace, who raids with us. I've already met Ace a couple of times in person back here at home in Colorado. So sorry, Ace. It's not because it's not that not that I forgot about it. It's just I got a whole lot to talk about, and we've we met before, so I was like, oh hey, what's up, Ace? Sorry, but then we get back to the house, and essentially I'm just we're all at that point just drunk and kind of tired, so we all kind of separate and go to bed. And I guess one of the other highlights of this night is that Nas had 2 cats of his own. I don't remember their breeds, but I remember his fiance Danny mentioned something like tuxedo cats. I don't know if that like gives a good picture of them, but is this why you're acting up, Raven? I was going to start talking about cats. Nas's cats, Pete and Ness. Sorry if I got them flipped for this little mini story. Nas had said that like Ness did not really get along with strangers, and I totally had Ness like 100% pretty much eating out of my hand, like coming back later on in the night is like really nice to have. You know, like animals can definitely tell your vibe, and the cat read my vibe and was like, "This is a cool dude." Side story, just a quick thing, something to talk about in the future. As a young kid, we used to run like a foster home for dogs here at my home. So I like over my life, I had, you know, I had hundreds of dogs growing up, not all at the same time over the course of a couple years. So I've gotten used to, getting used to animals kind of quickly, and I think that definitely helped with Naz's cats. Again, that might be something like a story for another time. Um, but again, that was essentially the first day. Again, for an unplanned day, awesome, very good. Naz, again, you're a very good tour guide.
Hello. I meant to do like a piecemeal vlog update here and there, but admittedly, I had a very smooth flight out here. Very, very good time, and there was essentially no time after landing. And then I kind of just like met up with my friends out here, and then just kind of like get dragged around to all the good places out here in Philly and South Philly, I should say. And very good first day, first half a day. Had a very smooth flight. I had no problems with like the check-in or whatever, or security at the airport. That was like the one thing I was a little afraid of. Sorry for getting a little close. I'm like kind of wanting to keep a low profile. I don't want to, Gildy friend, has allowed me to borrow a room for the night on my very first night out here, and I want to not accidentally be too loud while I'm, got like everything fresh on the mind, so before I try to get to bed here. So good flight, no problems, happy getting out South Philly, very good time. Kind of like just went to a few random places in the immediate neighborhood. I had some, a few drinks, won't lie. Very good first little half a day. I can't remember the name of the place, but it was like, went to three bars or whatever. I only had one drink pretty much at each, and don't remember the name of the place again, but one of the places was like this rooftop bar with like the Philadelphia city skyline in the background. It was like, holy shit. It's like that's a pretty special experience to have. First little, not quite full day, but first little half day update. It's been very, very good. Pennsylvania and South Philadelphia have treated me right so far for my first day out here, so. And I guess just throwing out there special thanks to my Gildy friend Nas for the night, and his cats. I don't know what to do about that. And his cats. Apparently they don't like they do not like visitors, apparently, but at the same time I've been immediately accepted because I just have that I don't know, kind spirit about me with animals. So even the one that doesn't like people, I got, cuddling with me a second ago. So I will leave. Wow, that was a bad voice crack. I will leave things at that for my first little half-day update. Again, good flight, no problems, nice little landing and hanging out, and not quite my usual cats, but still some good cats out and about here. So day one technically of my trip is, I would say it is now a wrap. Thanks everyone for watching or whatever. This is not the end of the video, but end of one night. So see how it goes from here.
Friday. So again, this is something for me to do in the edit, but I might be inserting some video clips here and there. But admittedly, I only really had video clips from Thursday, so it was Thursday and Saturday are the only real days where I had videos. So just FYI, if I threw a clip in of me talking in Naz's kitchen at the middle of the night, just I'll see what happens in the edit. Might even be editing this part out. So Friday. Friday was kind of the big day. Not the day of the wedding, but this was the big day where essentially I met everybody of all of our guildies, our group that were planning on going. I met everybody. I got out of Naz's place. I went over to the hotel where Ace had been at. And it was just kind of just sort of figuring out what exactly we're gonna do. And this is where I met one of our other guildie, Kellen, and my roommate to be for the weekend. And me and Kellen, he had noticed this place when he had Ubered into the hotel that he wanted to go check out. And forgive me if I mispronounce the name, Reading Terminal, something like that. It's just this incredible little place that if you want to just if you wanted to walk around and try to see what kind of restaurant or place that you something you just something you saw, something you smelled, etc. If you wanted to just roll the dice and see what catches your attention first, Reading Terminal is incredible in that it's just a dozen little restaurants inside one building, a bunch of little, I guess, food stalls is probably the more correct thing to say. And it was just for the overall weekend and Reading Terminal specifically, it was people overload. There are hundreds of people in this area, and they're all eating, they're all lined up, they're it's just oh my gosh, there's so many people. Overall for the entire weekend, I've probably seen I had already seen the day before on Thursday. I probably saw more people Thursday night than I have in the last honestly year or so of being at home. But then again, I don't get out much. I only go to work, and that's about it. Yeah, there was hundreds on hundreds of people at Reading Terminal, and it was just awesome. All the stalls and stuff. It's very much for a tourist, it was definitely a good an interesting experience for sure. But I could definitely tell for some of the people the people whose their daily life revolved around that place was definitely very kind of business and what are you doing? Don't be in the way, And here at Reading Terminal is where I had my authentic Philly cheese steak. I wrote Philly cheesecake on my note. It's a good thing I said it right. And because it's I don't really know anything about the food out there besides Philadelphia cheesesteaks, and I've eaten cheesesteaks before here at home at places, but you got to gotta have an actual Philly cheesesteak in Philly, right? So I did. One of the stalls at Reading got my cheesesteak, and this is like kind of the moment where it's like the people who live there, like that's their daily life. Kind of like the lady at the counter was like got a little snippy with me when I kind of didn't like. Again, I didn't know. It's like you got like lots of people in front of you, people behind you. I was kind of like just keeping the line moving. I thought, and it's like, oh no, you need to pay, and it's like kind of said like kind of like little cutting thing at me. It was fine. Like I didn't get mad. But she just is like, like this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. It's like, yeah, yes. But I paid for it, and yeah, it was Philly cheesesteak. It was fine. It was good. I think I've had better here. I'll say that. But that they're making like 5 of those sandwiches every minute or something. So it's going to be a little, quantity over quality. I think from that specific stall. And I had like this is one of the moments where I can also insert my one of my first props or my first souvenir from the trip. And before this, I had been like the walking around trying to explore, the terminal. One sad thing that like just wasn't really a thing people were doing, or at least like most of the stalls weren't doing, is like no one was really doing any samples. So I was, me and Kellen were the only ones there at this point. At the Reading terminal, we're down like this like little side. I want to say alley. It doesn't seem right. It's like aisle, row. I don't know the right terminology, but it's definitely like a much quieter area of the terminal because it was just like these like 2 little like clothing shops, like kind of like foreign, stuff. And then there was this other place with like this dude. He was just kind of like chilling there, and like it's like one of the few people like he said like hi to me or whatever, and I'm like hey back, and he's like would you care for a sample? And I was like oh my god, there's an actual stall here doing sample, and I go for the sample, and because the guy had essentially been the only stall of the whole lot to do it. There was another place that did do samples, but I was at that point I was in the line waiting for my cheesesteak, so I didn't go for it. Got myself some. Can't really see it on the thing. Got myself some cracker things. Really real ginger sweets and treats with coconut and almond. Shake well. Which I haven't popped these open, so thinking about some props for the video. I gotta make the most out of it. And again, it's just like it's like little cracker bits or something. How do I do this without like ruining the shot? That kind of works. It's just some little cracker bits. That at first it kind of tastes like, they remind me of like animal crackers at first, and then it just like kind of and I think it's like the almond and stuff start to kick in and kind of like doesn't get hot, but he definitely kind of just like kind of get a little hint of seasoning and stuff, and they're not bad. So that's Reading terminal like done and dusted for the trip. At that point, Reading terminal is done. At this point, we go back to the hotel lobby. We eat our cheesesteaks, and then the plan is at this point to go meet up with a good portion of everyone else who is coming out, and we were gonna walk over to the Philly Museum of Art. And I just want to, at this point, apologize to past me. I decided at this point in the trip, because I didn't know any better with traveling, I was like, I don't really want to take a second pair of shoes. So what I'm going to do is I'll try to buy myself something that should be halfway decent for both the wedding and for walking around, because I knew there was going to be some walking. So I bought these. And if you don't know what this is, it's a dress sneaker. And I can very much say in regards to how much are they dress and how much are they sneaker, it's like these are like 80% dress shoes, 20% sneakers, if that. So at this point in the day, the plan is for us to walk from the hotel in the dead center of Philly over to the Museum of Art, and it's like not like that far of a walk. It might have been like 2, maybe 3 miles. I really don't know. If one of my friends wants to, says any different, I'll go with that. But essentially, at this point, I'm walking through Philly in dress shoes. Let's just say my feet. I already actually had gotten like my first blister the night before walking around in those. The walk through Philly in dress shoes was where the rest of my blisters came for the rest of the trip. It was not very nice. It was very much a bad idea. And the reason why I got those again is because I didn't know any better with traveling. I was really concerned that my backpack was going to either be too heavy or too big, and I was going to get scrutinized to hell if I had another pair of shoes on me. Someone's going to take it away, search it, be like, this is too heavy, etc. That never happened. That didn't happen at DIA because obviously I didn't have a pair of shoes in my bag there. Coming back from Philly to DIA, not same thing. Even though I had those shoes in the backpack at that point, no one ever, touched my bag. Either way. But so, at this point, we get to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. It's, my ticket. This is, kind of one of my other souvenirs from the trip. I don't know if I'll keep it for long because it's just a piece of paper. But I did the, you run up the steps and everyone's doing the, the Rocky thing. I didn't really do that because at that point I was like, I was like drenched in sweat and hot and uncomfortable. But just right outside the museum is where I got to meet Eris, Kira. Yeah, Eris and Kira were the ones waiting. Like at this point, I had met up with. I had walked through Philly with Ace, Kellen, Taburz. It was just the 4 of us. We walked through the city, and then we got to the museum, and that's where we met up with Eris and Kira. Some more guildies of mine. Like the vast majority of essentially the guild group that was going over there. And I'm not much of an art guy, so kind of like actually being in the museum was just like, fanning myself the whole time with the little brochure. I did take some pictures of the art, but I don't really know much about art. So at this point in the story, Eris notices me struggling with my dress shoes. He decides at this point in the story to take pity on me and these are not my shoes. These are my guildmaster Eris's shoes. And I got bailed out real hard by my guildmaster. He literally gave me a pair of shoes. They're his old pair because he had bought himself some new shoes for the wedding. Not stupid ones like the ones I purchased. He bought regular, kind of like nice looking shoes, and he gave me these because he got new shoes, and oh, dude, something that's a story I'm not going to hear anything about anytime in the near future, or get teased about. It's going to be great. So, again, thank you, Eris, for the shoes. Really saved my feet for the rest of the weekend. Oh, this is just before then, actually. This is the part where I went out to the not quite my hotel yet, but it was essentially the same like area, the same town, out to Plymouth Meeting. The name of the town, I didn't realize that was the full name of the town, but it's like, that's what it's called. I get saved from the shoes, saved from those shoes by those shoes, and then we go out to this place called Iron Hill Brewery, and this is where I got to meet Martek and his fiance. Very briefly, like they were there beforehand doing their like rehearsal dinner stuff for the wedding. So I can't remember exactly what they were doing, but they was something along those lines, rehearsal, something or other. But we were planning on essentially going there to meet up, hang out for a little bit, and we ended up just kind of being there the entire like rest of the night for the most part. What are you doing? The part about the cats is over. You're the only cat now. Yeah, so we went to Iron Hill Brewery, and that was like definitely a place that was maybe not particularly like amazing, but that night in particular, it seemed like the place was just like super busy. Our server, she was just kind of like, we were all at the table kind of like that. She's just like kind of overworked and all these sorts of things. We're all kind of feeling bad for her the whole night. I had my food I got at that place was pretty good. I had some crab cakes recommended by Martek. They were good. Everyone else and kind of like everyone kind of had like mixed opinions about their food. I was pretty satisfied with mine. This is where I got one of my other souvenirs for the trip. That's why I was wearing the hat. Again, thinking about it ahead of time. Yeah, it was like maybe not necessarily the most amazing place overall, but still kind of like a nice night of just like getting to hang out with my my friends and guildies for at like essentially the first time. So it was awesome in that regard, and definitely got like some little extra alcohol in me. By the way, that's like the too long don't watch of the entire weekend is essentially I drank a little too much every single night, except for Sunday. I was a good boy on Sunday. Yeah, and that essentially kind of wraps up Friday, and because after this point, at this point in the night is when I get to meet Adaz, because like they were essentially they traveled, him and his wife had traveled over to Pennsylvania by car, so they were just like a day late. I can't remember if it was like they just got held up or something, but that's where I got to meet Adaz, and this is the part where me and Kellen we get to our hotel for the first time, and this is like the first night of the expected norm of the trip. And again, like for that night, thank again, Eris, for paying for stuff at the restaurant, because I definitely probably had more than my fair share of drinks and stuff. And then Daz, thank you again for the hotel room. That sort of wraps up Friday. Saturday. I know how days work. If I leave that like pause in. So admittedly on Saturday, not much happened the entire day besides the wedding. My note for the entire thing is literally just, can't really read it, but it's literally just 3 lines: sleeping in, lunch, wedding, essentially. So, um, yeah, I guess it's just like literally all I have to do is talk about the actual wedding itself. How do I talk about the wedding? Well, for me, I will say that this is the first ever wedding I've gone to as a guest of the wedding. I've I have been to others in the past, but it was because at my old job, I was a cook at a restaurant, and our restaurant would serve as a venue for wedding receptions. So I'm I've been around weddings before, but this is the first wedding I've ever gotten to enjoy fully as a guest, not having to run around and you know cook food all day beforehand. So that was super nice. At this point, I'll probably throw in a little video clip of walking into Morris Arboretum or something. The wedding itself is at this place called Morris Arboretum, and it's essentially in my mind, just like I didn't get to explore it fully because I got there. We got there just a little late. There we had like a full hour to kind of explore the garden, the forest, the park, whatever you want to call it. It's all of the above and then some, probably. Um, I did get a few minutes. I went and did a little some video around. Like I literally did like a 5 minute loop away from the wedding.
Here I go, Treggyz out into the woods. What another dinosaur statue looks like. Look at that thing. Dramatic, slow zoom. Like keep zooming. Look at that guy. Just chilling. I like the little note at the bottom of the sign. You can climb on this with adult supervision. You found me. Took me a second to read it because I was trying to zoom in on it. Found him. What's my time looking like? Got a little something or other right there. Creeping on me. Again, if I didn't have like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I'd be like, I'd love to go up to that little house up there and kind of just check things out, but I'm probably about to start heading back. Quick little waltz around the Arboretum, because I also didn't really do a travel log update yesterday. I kind of just wrote down the notes of like stuff I did. I'll record that. I was planning on recording something for that when I get back, or maybe I could do it when I get back to the hotel room tonight, who knows. But yeah, Treggyz at the wedding, the Morris Arboretum. And keep wanting to say Philadelphia, but I don't think I'm in Philadelphia. I'm in Pennsylvania, the actual state, you know. I'll let everybody go for now. Last little look at, I don't know. Yep. Trying to get a nice moment, and then I just have my finger covering up the camera. Not a bad little spot. Alright, I think I gotta hit end for sure. Or I go fully though. Just bask in the, you know, the Treggyz magnificence, all, you know, fancied up. Even a warrior sometimes knows how to look good, so hope everyone enjoys this video. I don't know, this could be my outro for the whole thing. You know, nice idyllic walk and, you know, big ass garden kind of place. But yeah, hope everyone enjoys, and hope I can make some interesting things happen. I totally flipped my camera the wrong way around, but it's fine. I'll figure it out in the edit. Spooky, where could it lead? We will never know. Alright.
Coming back, I get back from my little short excursion, and then you know, then they do the wedding real fast. They do the, you know, exchanging of the, so it's like exchanging of the vows. Is that the right thing to say? You know, they do the. It was a very short like ceremony, because like they kind of understood. It's like it was a nice day. It was sunny. There were no clouds. It wasn't raining. But essentially, it was like sunny and hot out. You know, this is later on in the evening. It was 6 o'clock, but you know, it's still warm. So they kind of like had plans just to wrap it up kind of quickly. And then it's just kind of like at that point, it's sort of like the bar opens up. We're in this like, we're still all in this like garden, and even though we had like this like relatively big like garden area, plaza, courtyard, I don't know what the right term is again. Although like there's this big area, I think everyone in the wedding, like we all converged in the same quarter of that whole area, you know, close to the bar, of course, because she was going to go too far from that. So the main part of the wedding is over, and then we go back up the path, and then we do the reception, kind of just like sitting and eating, you know, eating little complimentary salads or whatever you want to call it, little side salad things. Oh, and at this point, I would like to mention that like I had before we moved to the actual proper full reception, I had at this point in the night, I gave the bartenders, I gave them a 20, and I could definitely tell right away, like they were like, this guy's our guy. So at that point, I got loaded up, alcohol wise. Not that I'm like stumbling around drunk as a skunk or anything, but like, you know, this is kind of like, it was like the expectations were settling in for for the night. We have our dinners. I also before we even went out there, we had the choice of like 3 main entrees, and I went with once again the recommended by Martek meal. I went with the veggie lasagna. It was pretty good. Kind of nice and like light, not like crazy, not like crazy out of the park. It was good. It was good lasagna. Like I would have loved it if it had been like, if I could have had the option of like a, you know, same thing with meat in it, but you know, it was the vegetarian option. So it's just like what I went with. It sounded appealing when I signed up for it. Then we kind of just get into the rest of the wedding reception. It's just, for the most part, me back and forthing between the bar and hanging out with the guys at dinner again. I didn't do any dancing on the wedding dance floor. Not much of a dancer. Might surprise people who watch this. yeah, then it's just like a bunch of, at this point it's like a bunch of pictures. I don't necessarily have them, but there's definitely just like pictures of us and the guys. So again, in the edit, I'm going to try to avoid, if I do any pictures, I'm going to try to avoid like full on people's faces and stuff, just in case someone doesn't want their, you know, want to be associated with me. Let's say that. That's like the funny joke thing to say. Um, for any reason whatsoever. Uh, After this point, we like a lot of us were Martech had planned to have like a little after party with like kind of like the more knit, like kind of like us, the group of friends and some of the closer friends of like him and his fiance, because it was like there weren't a lot of people there. Like I've worked my fair share of weddings in the past, and like 100 people is kind of small. Not not, I don't mean anything bad by that, but kind of a small wedding in my mind. But there was a plan for like an after party afterward, just like kind of continue it on and a little more comfortable overall place, because the whole wedding venue, the ceremony and the reception was all technically outside, but the reception area itself was like there was like a big overhead tent thing, so it was kind of enclosed, but for the most part we were outside. Uh, so there was just plans of going to an after party where it was just like a hotel conference room or whatever. And at this point, I'm definitely like very drunk. I don't. I honestly like. I don't want to say it, but I will just go ahead and say it. I don't remember this part of the night very well because I was definitely drunk. That $20 went a long way with the bartenders at the wedding, and I just remember hanging out with the guys in that room for like an hour or so. I definitely fell over at one point in the night. Not just like full drunken stumble. It was someone had been eating. I can't remember what it was. Someone had been eating. One of my friends I was with. They were eating something. They dropped like a cracker on the floor, and I went to get it as like a joke, and I definitely fell over. It was worth it though. It was planned. Someone has to fall over, and I was happy to be that the butt of that joke at Martek's wedding. And essentially that wraps up the night, because this wasn't the hotel that I was staying at, but at this point I got to. I honestly don't remember how I got back to my hotel. I'll say that I think I hitched a ride with Adaz, if I remember correctly. Someone can correct me if they know. But going into Sunday, uh, luckily, very luckily, even though I had drinking a lot, I seem to have the not every time I drink, but most of the times whenever I do get heavily intoxicated, I do most of the times get lucky with not actually having to deal with any like hangover or sickness after. And despite drinking, probably like a whole bottle of Jack Daniels on my own and then some, like a bottle and a half probably. I didn't actually have any hangover the day after, but I was just like, I was definitely just tired, and everyone was kind of tired. Because like this Sunday is the day where like some people had like planned on going back, like either some people were splitting off to go like hang out with family that were nearby, or like they have to start their trip back, like a Daz because he was driving, had to start his trip back already, and stuff like that. So I essentially the only thing I did on Sunday is me Eris, Ace, Kira, and Kellen, we all just went to like go have lunch, and yeah, it's like that. That's essentially all that happened on Sunday. We went lunch, and we were all just kind of like, we're all just really tired and kind of burned out, aren't we? So we all just kind of like separated at this point. Yeah, like Sunday is definitely like the least noteworthy day of the whole trip, just because like everyone is just tired and kind of moving on, going to go do their own thing, going back to their normal life. So kind of a sad day in that regard, because I was like definitely wanted to like hang out with some of the guys a little more, but you know, not all of us had like the whole weekend off and then some. So moving on from Sunday, you would think that Monday is the day that like also I didn't really have any plans on Monday, because for me I had a noon flight home, but before then, backtracking just a little bit, I had a very nice, me and Kellen, my roommate, out there. We had a very nice 6 a.m. Dunkin' Donuts walk, I should say, not run, but very nice. Hanging out, just me and Kellen, because it was like a very nice morning. Like it was a great, like an actual great walk, uh, for the trip. Um, but at this point, like we're just kind of like both planning on like how are we getting to the airport, because we're like not a full hour away from the airport, but we're like 45 minutes or so, and we ended up just splitting an Uber to get over to the airport, and both of our flights were at like noonish time, and I definitely just wanted to get there early just to be safe. And it was definitely a good thing I did, because I would say my travel experience getting through the Philadelphia airport was a lot closer to what I was expecting the first time around, with like lots of line. Like I mean, it's just like there's generally just like way more people there, because I think it's just a lot closer to the main city. But there was just like a huge line of security, like very much like a 15 to 20 minute wait just to get through, to get like X-rayed and all that. So like after that, get through security. It's a lot longer, not like heavily scrutinized, right? Like it's just like a very much a much longer wait. Like I was in the line to get through security, like in that line longer than the entirety of my Denver Denver airport experience, right? Of like the same moment. Where it was essentially at Denver, it's like walk through the entire time, take off your shoes and all your stuff, throw it in an X-ray, get X-rayed yourself, and then you get your stuff back and you're walking through. Doing the same thing at Philly was like a literal multiple lines of people all waiting, having to get through, just like a very kind of snail's pace doing that. Not bad again, but it was like that's what I was expecting the first time around. And again, still for overall flight to and from, still not like any bad experiences at this point. But this is where maybe the, the unlucky bits happen. So after waiting for like the boarding for my flight home, uh, we got there early enough that like it was going to very much be a wait no matter what. Uh, Boarding starts for my plane. A lot of like everybody gets on the plane, uh, and then like what happens with the plane itself is we were told that there was a computer error with the plane, uh, and they had to like turn off the plane for a couple of minutes to like just like kind of like shake it out, the bug out of the system or whatever, right? Uh, doesn't really work. Just like the quick reset on the computer, they do it again to fully change the computer. I believe I'm not sure if they full swapped out like a server blade or something, right? I don't know. I don't know enough about planes or that stuff to fully comprehend. Uh, Regardless of what the issue is, by the way, I will say I am happy that they found this issue before we took off, because what if whatever thing that happened had happened while we were in the air? It would have been a lot worse, I think. And that's just kind of like my quick pre story note to what happens next. In that we after having to all everybody on the plane having to sit on the plane with it like being off for like we sat in the plane for like a full hour and a half to 2 hours or so, with like a good portion of that being like the plane is off, the lights are off, the air conditioning is off. And it's just, yeah, you definitely got like a plane full of hot stinky people, myself very much included. And it's at this point where they kind of just, I guess, like the pilot makes the call that like it's not going to happen, and the flight, very much 2 hours late, is officially declared delayed. The flight takeoff. Uh, but the problem is that like we all get off the plane, and it's like just like talk to the person at the desk, and we'll figure out what happens next. And the people, the like the airport flight attendants or whatever, again, I don't really know like the actual job the those guys do, like the name of their job. They were kind of bad with their communication, because it was just like a combination of like shouting like what's happening. Like we didn't really get any actual info or updates. So what ends up happening is you have a whole plane of like, I don't know how many people fit on like one of those planes, like 200, 300 people. You have all of us people who like, people are pissed out of their mind. I had like I had front row seats to the like the main character convention hosted at the Philadelphia airport, and it was definitely a thing to witness. And I'm not gonna say I was like part of it, but I was definitely like on the inside. I was definitely frustrated because at this point I'm like, oh my god, man! If only we could have just taken off. Like if there had been no issue with the plane, I'd already be like an hour away from home and like my shower and Raven in my bed, like because that's all I was really thinking about at that point. But I was being a good boy, being nice and patient. People are walking up to the desk. They're getting really mad with the attendants, and the attendants are getting mad with the people. I feel bad for one of them in particular, like this one woman who stayed there like the entire time, like trying to reason with like the angry guys who kept coming up. She like eventually got on the mic and was like, we have no info. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if we're going to be able to get you guys out of here. Like I'm trying to figure something out for everybody, and it's like I felt bad for her, and that was like the only time where essentially the communication from them to us was like positively received, because it was just like, what, yeah, like she just sort of said it that like we don't know what's happening, and we can't really say what's going on because we don't know what's happening. Uh, but so at this point, my flight home has been delayed by like 4 or 5 hours, which I imagine in the long run of things is not like the worst ever plane delay, but it was definitely just annoying to be. It was annoying to be on the plane, not ready to go, I suppose, because it had a computer issue, but like, you're on the plane and then you're off the plane and then you're like waiting around in limbo, uh, not sure about what's going to happen, but eventually save myself even more time, because this is definitely this so far is going on a lot longer than I thought. I thought I'd wrap this up in like 30 minutes of recording on my end. It's a little over an hour, so I don't know how long of a video this is going to be in total, but it's so far a little longer than I was expecting. The actual flight home was, besides that, the flight delay and everything, it was overall, for me personally, a little more uncomfortable. And by a little more, I mean a lot more uncomfortable. Just like this time around, I did get a window seat, so I did actually get to like, I recorded the takeoff and stuff, where I'll definitely throw this in. Like there's like that moment where all these people, like all of us who are, our flight had been delayed for a couple of hours, We finally take off, and there's like a round of cheers as we actually take off in the plane. I'll definitely throw that in. In this, because I wanted a window seat just so I could like kind of experience the the takeoff kind of up close and personal, and I totally did record like the full takeoff and then like the full landing there and back. Uh, just because like I don't know, for me it was like it's really cool and novel, I suppose, for essentially my first time ever doing it. But the reason the flight home was like really uncomfortable for me is that like my flight out to Philadelphia, I had been in like the exit row or whatever, like the emergency exit row, and I guess apparently that those seats have like a little extra legroom. So overall, I hadn't been uncomfortable on the flight out. On the flight back, though, I was not in the exit row, and I was very much my my legs, my like knees were like dying. I was like, I just like really badly like I just want to stretch my legs. I want to bend my knee. You know, it was just like that awful like middle ground where it's just like there's just no movement. So I think if I ever fly again, I will I'll take the extra time to probably book my flight a little sooner in advance and see if I could get like some cheap like first class seating or whatever. I don't know the the right thing if there's like extra legroom seating or whatever. I know first class is definitely a thing, but I can't remember the exact name. I'll do that in the future. I think if I ever get to fly again, and then yeah, that's kind of it. Just finally get to get home. Super happy. Only about 6 7 hours late compared to what I was hoping for the day. But at the same overall I got home safe and sound, no problems, and that's I'm thankful for that. I don't need to nitpick anything else that happens on like the on the airport at Philly. It's just kind of like that's like the funny. That's like my funny travel nightmare story, I suppose, from now on. Even though, again, happy that it happened on the ground before we flew. So, I'm just happy to be home and, you know, get to have an overall incredible weekend. I'm like so happy I decided to, say yes to it 8 months, not 8 months ago. Actually, I guess it was about 8 months ago I was invited. And at that point, it was very much like a tentative. I don't know if I'll have enough money for it, but I guess we could see if I could borrow someone's couch for a weekend or something like that. Was the original plan in my mind? Is maybe someone lives nearby and I could just crash with them for a while, and that kind of happened. Again, Edaz took care of the hotel room for me and Kellen, and Eris took care of I guess my feet. Kind of, but also a lot of the restaurant tabs. Uh, yeah. Overall, like I'm a little sad about Sunday, and the fact that like just none of us really did anything. But then again, I was just tired. A lot of us were just tired Sunday, so I I think that's about it. So I won't be doing it tonight because it's like recording this. I thought I'd be done a lot sooner. I'll definitely get around to recording this in the morning, and I'll definitely have it up like probably midday-ish for everybody. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Hopefully, everyone enjoys. Hopefully, I make good on on the video that's rolling around in my head. Hopefully, I make good on that in the actual video, and hopefully, everyone kind of doesn't mind this, like, for the most part, like a podcast style talking about the overall trip and the stories. Um, yeah. Again, I'll say as like a party note again. It's it sometimes can be scary to go out and meet people that like you only know them in one way and not like they're just people online. It can be kind of freaky to go do it, but it is like I have not had a bad experience going out and meeting people that I've originally met online. So I would not to throw shade at people, sort of throwing shade in a funny, jokey way, banter way. It's always worth it to kind of like make it happen if things line up. You know, that would be my parting advice to anyone who might be facing a certain situation, circumstance like this lining up in their future. It's always nicer if if this sort of thing could like work out in a way where it's only like, oh, someone they're passing by and they're like only going to be an hour away from you or something. Like, it's easy enough to be like, okay, yeah, we can meet up and get lunch or something, get dinner, get a drink, right? It's definitely a different thing to go on across the country uh, to the go to the East Coast to hang out with people for a few days. But again, I would not change anything about this last weekend besides maybe Sunday. But it's just like it would be like the only thing I would change about Sunday is just like fucking kick myself in the ass to do something fun that day. But it happens. Uh, Letting everybody go for real because it's bedtime. So thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully I make good on this video and hopefully everyone likes it. Thank you very much. Thanks for the watch and hopefully subscribe and all that good stuff. I'll see you around soon for more regular World of Warcraft most likely content. And I'll see you guys then.